Monmore Green, Wolverhampton, looking the perfect setting for the second test match between England and the USA. And let's have a look at the England side. It's a very young side on parade tonight, without world finalist Jeremy Doncaster, who has been allowed to resume for his domestic club Reading. But a very youthful looking squad indeed, with two other world finalists. Now, America, as you can see, are sadly depleted without their three most seasoned campaigners internationally. That's Sam Ermolenko and the Moran brothers, Sean and Kelly, and they really have their backs against the wall. This is a young squad as well, with Billy Hamill, one of the American world finalists this year. We just remind you with Speedway that there are 4 riders in a race. You can identify the English riders there in the red and blue helmets. The away riders, the Americans, are in white and yellow and black quartered helmets. 4 laps to a race, of course, 3 points for a win, 2 points for a second, 1 for a third, no score for a last place. 4 laps anti-clockwise. The machines are 500cc with no brakes and a fixed gearing. And here's heat 1. Calvin Tatum, the England skipper, in red. Then we have Chris Louis in blue. For America, it's young Charlie Ermolenko and Greg Hancock, who is a track specialist here for the Americans, in yellow for heat number 1. And into the lead straight away, it's the Americans that are off, and it is Hancock and it is Ermolenko who gets squeezed out. Tatum's cut in between the 2 Americans there on the first lap. But the Americans clearly, although they're without their 3 most seasoned campaigners, are going to lie down here. Here's Hancock, and he just loves Wolverhampton. Second place, there you can see it's Tatum. Third place is Charles Ermolenko in his first season over here with Wolverhampton, so familiar with Monmore Green Shell. And at the back at the moment, Chris Louis and the young man from Ipswich, would be expecting better from heat number 1. Packed stands and terraces here for this international. Old rivals, the Americans, of course, all from California. You can see young Ermolenko trying to make life difficult for Calvin Tatum. Way out in front, it is Greg Hancock, who rides for neighbouring Cradley Heath here in the Black Country. First test, we remind you, England won by 20 points, 64 to 44, so the Americans will look to level the series here. Over the line, a win for Hancock, second Tatum, third in white. Doing well, they're hanging on there, Charlie Ermolenko, so that's a promising opening for the Americans. 4-2, they take heat 1.
Greg Hancock, well done. First ride, great win. You guys are going to be up against it without Sam Ermolenko, though.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough without Sam tonight. We are really unfortunate to lose him with his knee injury. But the thing is, I think it just gave us even more of a boost that we want to beat these guys even with more, under our capabilities not so good. But I think that everybody's going to be given 150%. And with Ronnie here and all the guys that ride here normally, it's going to be good.
Well, the track looks great. We've seen some good racing. We should see some more.
Yeah, the track's brilliant. I'm sure you will see plenty.
First race winner, Greg Hancock, an interview there as we move to with the Americans in those in front. Now here's a promising pairing. Young Joe Screen, only 18, the baby of the England side in red. Martin Dugard, who was their youngest ever international at 17. He's now 22. Against Billy Hamill, he's a world finalist, and a complete unknown, Donny Odom in yellow. Now he's just here on holiday and just pressed into service. Heat 2, flying start, level up to the gate. And around the outside there it is Dugard, and Screen made the jump. Dugard came from wide, and it is the young Lions who are in front. Odom's in third place, and at the back, that's a surprise, Billy Hamill in the white helmet. We'll watch for him making some inroads here, but it's young Martin Dugard who loves to attack around the outside. Screen made the jump, Dugard attacked around the outside, and at the moment it's England and the old 1-2. Hamill has now moved up into third place, and he won't go to sleep there. There is Joe Screen, spectacular young man from Bellevue, Manchester. Dugard still in front, and Martin does like the smaller tracks. He started at Eastbourne, which is 302 metres, then joined Oxford, which is 297 metres. Oxford, indeed Wolverhampton here, is smaller than both, only 280 metres. So a small track specialist, and really winding it on here. Martin Dugard leading heat number 2. Joe Screen's in second place, and the crowd are enjoying this moment of English triumph. Character there, Mr. Wolf with the flag. Dugard takes the 3 points. England take a maximum and now move into the lead 7-5 with 2 gone. Moving into heat number 3, and perhaps the rider to watch will be the rider in white in grid 2. That's Ronnie Corrie riding for America. He is a world finalist, and he rides here at Wolverhampton in the British League. He knows his way around Monmore Green. We've got Gary Havelock He'll be in grid 3, the British reigning champion from Bradford, and his Bradford teammate Paul Thorpe, who has just qualified for his first World Final. He's right up next to our camera here in the blue helmet. And watch for the rider in yellow and black, and he's on the outside. That's Bobby Ott, and they call him Showtime, and he's a real harum-scarum merchant. Heat number 3. The flying start the Americans show. It is Ott from the outside, and Corrie in white. And that really was another jet-propelled start from the Americans. They're not going to roll over here with the legs up. There's Ott in front. Second place is Corrie, and the English lads with work to do in Heat 3. Ott looking back, almost heard him say, yes, okay, I'm going to go there. He sees his partners behind him. Ronnie Corrie, neat, trim, compact little stylist. Very familiar, of course, with Wolverhampton. There he is there, absolutely in control. And Ott's in front, and in third place it's Havelock, and the English lads aren't making too much of it. Now, something seems to be going wrong with Bobby Ott. The bike is noticeably slowing. Ott in yellow and black is slowing. Corrie seems concerned as Ott misses that corner, and he's gone down just out of our picture there. That's a tragedy for the Americans already strapped. Corrie in front, but that looked like a certain maximum heat win for the Statesiders, has gone down the tubes. That's disaster for the Americans, although they still shared heat number 3. There you can see the score. England still in front, but the Americans will be regretting and wondering whatever happened to Bobby Ott there. Coming into heat number 4, and we have got the Screen-Dugard pairing, who scored a maximum first time out. Now, can they repeat that formula against the Wolverhampton track specialist Hancock, Greg Hancock? He's in yellow and black with Charlie Ermolenko in the white helmet as well. Heat number 4, full of promise and potent. It's a tremendous start, and it's the Americans that get away, and from the outside it is Dugard as well. Dugard outside, then Ermolenko moves on the inside of him, and in third place it is Hancock, and battle is thoroughly joined here with Charlie Ermolenko surprisingly popping up here. He leads it, and now it is Hancock who's moved into third place, and Joe Screen is at the back, and this is incredible Speedway racing. They're all bunching up now. We have got Screen and Hancock together. Dugard's in front, and the Americans have been squeezed out. It is Dugard in front. Second place it's Screen, and third place it is Hancock, who has not finished fighting, and this is little short of sensational. Joe Screen now in front, and Screen was at the back at lap 2. He has come from last to first. Who said Speedway is just the first guy out of the gate? There's Screen looking back. Dugard's in second place. Into the last lap now, and Hancock, the man who just loves Wolverhampton, has been relegated to third place. Screen takes it on one wheel. Dugard is second. Third place is Hancock. That's a 5-1 maximum heat win, 59. And England going well, and that really was quite a win for Joe Screen. Crowd really rising to Screen here. Fast to first in super style. Heat number 5, 15-9, we remind you, England in the lead now. We have the northern pairing of Gary Havelock and Paul Thorpe against Billy Hamill and Donny Odom, the man who was brought in just to make up the numbers, a tall guy. They call him too tall, Donny. Normally Speedway guys are more of the build of little stocky jockeys. This guy's a big 6-footer, a bit awkward on the bike. There is Gary Havelock trying to pick up the pieces of his season after disappointment in the World Individual Final. We're coming into heat number 5. There's the start, and Thorpe's away, and so too is Hamill. So trouble on the outside. Thorpe gets picked up. Hamill came across. Thorpe seemed to be just picked up. He went over the top. He high-sided it very, very awkwardly indeed. He landed on his head. He seemed to be moving, but in some trouble. And this is an anxious moment for England, because Thorpe here is a world final. Let's see what happens. Watch the outside grids. You can see Thorpe's away. Now Hamill moves across and just picks him up, and he's thrown straight, and over he goes, and he lands right on his head, and that is painful. Worrying moments then for the England camp. Paul Thorpe is down. As you can see, the track medical staff are rushing to him. He landed on his head. He seems to have hurt his leg as well, though it does seem to be movement. There's the unhappiest sight in Speedway, the ambulance. And, well, Paul Thorpe has taken a knock, there's no question about that. And the indications are, as Mark Laram, the reserve, comes to take his place, we're getting signals that Paul Thorpe in fact swallowed his tongue, and it was only some really emergency work down there on the track by the medical staff that averted what might have been a tragedy. Heat 5 rerun. I think perhaps Paul Thorpe will have no further part in the action. We've got Gary Havelock and Mark Laram. Laram's another youngster of the English squad in against Hamill and Odom. How will Mark Laram fare here in the restart of heat number 5? 15-9 the score, England in front. And that's the start. And it is Laram who's away. Laram leads at second place. Following him hard is Hamill. Hamill third place is Havelock. Havelock didn't seem to make that start, but Laram is away. And now Billy Hamill, who recently won the World Championship individual semi-final in Russia and certainly looks to be a potentially new American world champion, maybe not this year, but certainly in the future, is now setting sail after Mark Laram. And the crowd are loving this, and Dan has gone Odom. We can see they're just missing the corner, in no danger as battle still continues up front. This is the third lap, and Hamill really is working hard, and Hamill's come around the outside, and that is a picture book piece of overtaking. Hamill, we just saw him in our camera, moved to the outside line, found the drive, screwed it on, a pinpoint precision piece of passing. He's going to win heat number 5. Looking really stylish. It really was the moment. He picked his moment absolutely right, and Laram could do nothing about it. He's second. Third place, it is Gary Havelock. Points shared there in heat number 5. That's the progressive score, 18-12, but Hamill producing some real track magic there. Moving into heat number 6, 18-12, we reminded the score with England in front. And this is Bobby Ott, who fell after an engine failure last time, and he's not so much gardening on the gate there as excavating. Great character, they call him Showtime. Rides with Wimbledon in the British League. There's the lineup, Tatum and Louis. Louis no score first time out. Ronnie Corrie, who has a race win to his credit first time. He's in white, and Bobby Ott on the inside grid. They're on pole in yellow and black, anxious to amends for a crash when leading his first ride. Heat 6. Away again this time. It's terribly tight, and Ott it is who's moved in front. Ott in front, and they're all piling up behind him. In second place is Louis, and Louis gets the outside line down into the third corner, and Chris Louis from Ipswich forges ahead for England. Second place, it is Ott. In third place is a battle royal going on, but that's the leader. There's the battle at the back, and it's Kelvin Tatum, the England skipper, who, it has to be said, has been suffering from a mystery virus in the last week or so. Still managed to qualify for the world final despite that trouble, but not looking himself at all as young Chris Louis leads heat number 6. Man with a future, son of course of the former England captain John Tiger Louis, now the boss man at Ipswich. There are the Americans packing in here in heat 6 to ensure the points are shared. So look at the score there, 3 points each from heat 6, 21-15. England still comfortably with their noses in front in this second test. Frantic activity in the pits. We just got a glimpse there of Simon Cross, just back from injury, just out of our picture there, former England international. There is the England lineup, who now lead after 6 races by 21 points to 15. A young squad, you can see they're doing quite well, and Joe Screen and Martin Dugard unbeaten as a pairing so far, and they have really been the cornerstone of this England effort. There are the American scores, and you can see Hancock and Hamill are both race winners. And Ronnie Corrie's won a race as well. So although they're depleted, they're in there battling, and we've got quite a test on our hands. Remember, it's 4 laps, a clutch start, 3 points for a win, 2 for a second, 1 for a third. The machines are 500cc. They're capable of acceleration over what, from 0 to 60 in something like 3 seconds. And believe me, these guys can hop off them on the proverbial coin if they have to. There's the lineup for heat 7. Gary Havelock with a second and a third, Mark Laram, who was second first time out. Then we have Charlie Ermolenko and Greg Hancock. There is the start, who will show, and it is Hancock who's away. Hancock leads at second place there, coming hard. It is Gary Havelock. Havelock going around the outside, and he might just have the drop as Hancock becomes aware of the challenge and where the danger is coming from and swings back and leaves little room for the manoeuvre from Gary Havelock. Ruthless tactics from the young American. Third place it is Mark Laram, but this is Greg Hancock, one of the two young brigade Americans based just across the Black Country at Cradley Heath. Cradley Heath, of course, famous and legendary for its American connection in World Speedway with the now well-remembered, sadly, Bruce Pennell, who retired much too prematurely in many people's impression, including myself, in 1982 as a double world champion. There's the battle at the back here in Heat 7, and down there has gone Ermolenko, but he really gave it everything there, just giving more than he could hold on to gain a point over slides. Don't think it's any damage done. Charlie Ermolenko, well, his pride battered if nothing else. But Hancock won it, and there's the score, 3 apiece, 24-18, still that 6 points gap. We're moving now into heat number 8, and despite being 6 points adrift, it's interesting to reflect that the Americans have recorded 4 race winners to England's 3, and it's been mainly the Screen-Dugard pairing that's done the damage. Now we have Kelvin Tatum and Chris Louis against Billy Hamill and Donny Odman, and into that first turn, and it is Hamill who's away. Hamill leads at 2nd place. It is Tatum 3rd place. It is Chris Louis, and here is Billy Hamill looking back. They're all looking back to see where everybody else is based, and it has to be said, the referee, and it's David Hughes here this evening, has the discretion. Riders aren't supposed to look back if it's going to endanger them or a rival, and there was a whole lot of looking back there in heat number 8, but no real damage or danger, one would assume the referee has thought. Hamill leading it, still that same order. The English pairing just packing in there to hold out Donny Odom, who looks just a little bit out of his class in this level. But Hamill is certainly one to watch. We wonder if perhaps he could be the next American world champion. Over the line he goes in heat 8, but the English pairing tacking in there for 2nd and 3rd, so scores remain the same of deficit, just 6 points, 3 points apiece shared in heat number 8. Coming into heat 9, and this is the main pairing for England. Joe Screed and Martin Dugard still unbeaten by an opponent, and they have got the track record holder Ronnie Corrie and Bobby Ott to contend with here in heat 9. So fascinating racing prospect. Heat number 9, 27-21 the score. The unbeaten England pairing here, and into that first corner, and it's the red and blue helmets that show it's England, with Corrie going after them. Screen around the outside, Martin Dugard in blue down the inside. Here comes Bobby Ott, but it looked like Dugard almost lost it. Terrific control. He must have wrist of steel there as England carve up heat 9, and there is the rider in 3rd place, and it's Bobby Ott, and Ronnie Corrie seems to have disappeared at the back. He seems to be struggling a bit as Joseph Screen here and Martin Dugard, and they really have been the anchor around which England have spearheaded tonight's performance against a depleted American side. We wonder what would have happened if the Californians had been at full strength, but Screen and Dugard have been a tower of strength. Martin Dugard, of course, son of the former rider of Dugard, now part of the ownership of Eastbourne down there on the south coast, but Martin, who started his career with Eastbourne, now rides with Oxford. Joe Screen, triumphant. Dugard is 2nd. 3rd place there is Bobby Ott, and this English crowd here rise to these youngsters. We wonder who is going to beat them, because they have really been in the most tremendous form here in this 2nd test match at Monmore Green, Wolverhampton.
Martin Dugard, you've been involved in some great races. A bit of a habit of the 5-1s for England when you're out there.
Yeah, it's a good habit to be in, actually. Me and Joe were riding good together. It's the first time we've ridden together, so we're sorting ourselves out. We're choosing gates, and everything's working good for us.
England now missing Paul Thorpe, with that unfortunate incident, but you've got some good reserves in there tonight.
Yeah, Mark, he's his first time here this year. He's going really well. He had a good first ride. Unlucky he was picked to the line by Billy Hamill. But no, he's going good. The whole side sort of getting together and becoming a sort of more of a team than individuals, and that's what we need.
Moving on to heat number 10 with now a 10-point gap, 32-22, and we have got Calvin Tatum and Chris Louis against Charlie Ermolenko, and the impressive Greg Hancock, who will be in yellow and black. There is the lineup. Tatum yet to win a race. Chris Louis has 4 points. Charlie Ermolenko only has 1, but has been worth a lot more. And Hancock has 2 race wins and a 3rd place thus far. As we're moving into heat number 10. It's a terrific start from Hancock, and it's a great start too for Chris Louis. And Tatum is there as well. Tatum in red, in fact, shows, with now Hancock going hard under him. And Tatum really has nothing to hold back Hancock there. He led it, but Hancock just brushed him aside, and in 3rd place it is Louis. And we did mention that Calvin Tatum, regarded by many as England's best hope for World Championship honours, he has finished in the frame before, but he clearly is out of sorts, and Greg Hancock there just swept by him. Here the English pairing making sure the Americans don't make further inroads into the deficit. Overall, reminder of course that England do win this test match here at Monmore Green. They have won the 3-match series with 1 more to go at Swindon. Hancock takes the checkered flag, but England again do the teamwork behind him. 2nd red, Calvin Tatum 3rd in blue, Chris Louis. So it's still that 10-point gap. Well, heat 11, fascinating again. It's Screen and Dugard unbeaten as a pairing, and this time they have got Billy Hamill in against the Mandoni on him now. It's interesting that before this race the Americans haven't had 1 single 2nd place, and Screen and Dugard again here, who are away. In front it is Martin Dugard, 2nd place splitting him there is Billy Hamill, 3rd place is Screen, and Screen will put himself about. He's a big tough rough northern lad, and there's not much to choose between them there. Dugard in front, Hamill in 2nd place, Screen right up there, all 3. Well, what is there? Bike length between all 3. Terrific stuff. Screen tried the outside run there, lost ground. Here is Hamill going hard after Martin Dugard, the small track specialist, relishing every moment of this 2nd test match. And here comes Screen again. You just can't go to sleep for a moment in this one, heat 11. And some brave young hearts out there. Dugard is a difficult customer to shift off his line once he gets in front, and as they go over the line he holds on. 2nd place is Hamill, 3rd is Screen. So the Screen-Dugard pairing has been split at last, but they still win the race, and America have had a 2nd place. Perhaps we were tempting fate there. 4-2 in heat number 11, 39-27, and the English lads beginning to get a throttle hold on this test. Heat number 12 with Gary Havelock and Mark Laram. Neither have won a race, in against Ronnie Corrie, who's having mechanical trouble, and Bobby Ott in yellow and black. Heat 12. It's a terrific start from Havelock this time, and coming hard around the outside it is Bobby Ott. Ott in front, 2nd place. Oof, well, right across the grass it looked there, Ronnie Corrie. Look at that for a picture. Here is Ott, 2nd place. Now it looks as though Laram's got up. Laram and Ott together up front. There is the battle, and it really is getting hot out there, and Mark Laram challenging boldly around the outside, and Bobby Ott shakes him off. Ott in yellow and black leading heat number 12, but the English pairing are still going hard. Terrific piece of action, and Ott swings too wide, and Laram's down the inside of him there. And that really has thrown Bobby Ott off his line, and down he goes bravely, courageously, but England move up, and that was just pressure and intimidation. He moved off his line, Laram went through, he was thrown off his correct course, and down he went, and deserves more from heat number 12. It was a maximum heat win from England, who really had perseverance paying off there. So it was Laurent who won it. Second place was Havelock, grateful for the opportunity, and Bobby Ott, who fell but remounted there, picks up a third place. But an interesting and at times pulsating heat number 12. England moving further in front, as you can see. 44-28 now the score as we come to the final heats of this second test. 16 points now the gap in this second test match with England, as you can see there, with some impressive scoring there. Kelvin Tatum still to win a race, but Joe Screen and Martin Dugard have been most fruitful. 19 points between them, and Mark Laurent down there at reserve has been useful as well with a win, and they score in every race. 6 points for him so far. Hawthorpe sadly taking no further part, but we gather there is no serious damage done. We'll have a look at the Americans. You can see, well, it is Greg Hancock and Billy Hamill they're relying on for their points, and Ronnie Curry down there after a promising start having some problems. Only 4 points. Bobby Ott worth more than 4. He really has been quite a competitor. So this perfect setting for International Speedway, Monmore Green, Wolverhampton in the Midlands, where of course many feel the heartbeat of British Speedway is to be found. And Heat 13 coming your way with a fascinating race in prospect, because we have Joe Screen and Martin Dugard, and in against them Greg Hancock and Donny Odom coming in to replace Charlie Ermolenko. Now Hancock has only dropped points against this terrific young British pairing. So let's have a look at it across the line. It is going to be on the inside Dugard, next to him Hancock. Grid 3 will have Joe Screen, and on the outside it is Donny Odom, who really has contributed very little to this test. Heat 13, 44-28, we remind you the score. And can the Americans raise a last hurrah, a last charge here in Heat 13? There's a flyer, and it is Hancock who shows. Screen going after him. Dugard's in third place round the curve, but it is Greg Hancock who leads. Second place, it is now Dugard. Well, nothing much to choose between him and his partner, but here is Hancock. And Hancock, well, we wonder, getting his revenge for that earlier reverse at the hands of this well-balanced young English pairing. There's Hancock. Second place now is Joe Screen. There he is, having trouble keeping both wheels in contact with the shell. And Martin Dugard just content to sit back in third place. We should tell you that in team racing of this nature, if a rider finishes behind his partner in either first or second or third places, they are paid what they call a bonus points. They have the same points monies to encourage them to team ride and not to knock lumps off each other. As Hancock, no problems with him to team riding, because his partner's a long way back, but he's going to win Heat 13. So some atonement for him for his earlier defeat by the young pairing. 3 points all, the score 47-31. That's the state of play after 13 races. Well, you can see a big crowd here looking on for heat number 14. This is an interesting one, because the England's co-bosses, Eric Bucock and Colin Pratt, bring in Andy Galvin in blue here. Now, he is the first second division rider to represent England in 1991. He rides at Arena Essex. He's just back after a very badly broken leg, and he's in here against Billy Hamill and Charlie Ermolenko. That's the lineup you can see there, with Gary Havelock in grid 2, 47-31, and if America are to make one last stand, it's got to start here. Heat number 14, and it's a flyer from the Californians. They're in front. First place, it is Ermolenko. Second place, it is Hamill. Third place, trying to bore a hole down the inside, is Gary Havelock, and Galvin finding the pace just a little hot there. Now then, what can Gary Havelock do about this? Here he is. It's a bonny battler, but it is Charlie Ermolenko who suddenly found a burst of form. The younger brother of Sam Ermolenko, who is one of the favourites for the World Individual Championship, but sadly cracked a knee just a week ago, unable for the place here. It would have been a bit of a difference if he had been here, but his younger brother's keeping the family flag flying very proudly here in Heat 14. This is just what the Americans needed into the last lap here. A reminder, it's 280 metres, 306 yards around Monmore Green. But the Americans may be down, but they're far from out, and they are fighting. Ermolenko leading heat 14. Billy Hamill doing the nursemaid job, making sure he comes to no mischief, and that's a maximum for the Americans. And suddenly, this test match has burst back into life. There's the score, 48-36, and it's still time for the Americans to come and catch the English lads who've done so well a little bit complacently. Heat number 15, and England look to Kelvin Tatum, who has still to win a race, 6 points. He's in heat 15 with Chris Louis, with Ronnie Corrie and Bobby Ott. And a reminder that we had a maximum heat win from the Americans here, who are determined not to let this one slip away without a real battle. Here's heat 15. Flying start from the outside, Bobby Ott away once again. And he does move quickly into that first turn. The English pairing are tightening up behind him with Tatum and Louis together, but it's Bobby Ott who's had a fall and some problems, a couple of falls indeed, when he's been well placed. But he's certainly an entertainer, and now the English pairing have some problems because Ronnie Corrie is moving up onto their back wheels. Tatum gets a quick glance inside. He knows where the danger's coming from. This is Ott in front in heat 15. Still, Corrie hasn't finished battling here. He's the one on the white, and he's swinging down the inside. Tremendous action with still Ott in front, and now has Corrie squeezed through? No, he hasn't, as they come around. Here's Monmore Green, and Tatum swings wide. It's going to be Ott over the line, and right on the line. Well, in fact, it's on to the over the line. It looked as though Ott certainly won it, but it's going to be a close call, and the referees called it and said that Corrie got up. It was really, it looked as though Tatum had just sort of knocked off a moment too soon, and Ronnie Corrie came through, but that's a 4-2, and the Americans are still in there with a chance. Heat 16, just 10 points, and that's a tremendous picture of Mark Laram. Cameramen take their life in their hands these days. Super pictures here of Speedway action from these old medieval jousting nights. A throwback somehow, aren't they, in their racing gear here. Heat number 16, Gary Havelock and Mark Laram in against Charlie Ermolenko and Greg Hancock. 10 points in it with just, what, 3 to go. So the Americans could still come from behind here. Heat 16, let's have a watch of it. Well, it's a tremendous start again from the Americans. Havelock just may have the edge. He's looking around, but Ermolenko has moved around the outside of him. And Havelock was looking for his partner and wasn't aware of the trouble and the danger from the Americans, as Charlie Ermolenko has suddenly sprung to life. And now going hard after Havelock, it is Greg Hancock. And Hancock had the run down to the outside. Well, this revival has been stemmed by Charlie Ermolenko, who had, what, no score at all. 1 point from his first 4 rides, but he's suddenly burst into life. And if he had done this early on, then this test would have been a different story, because now the Americans are really coming back into contention. Not a lot to choose between them, but Hancock knows exactly what he's doing here. Keeping an eye on partner Ermolenko, they move over the line for a maximum heat win. There's the score, and suddenly it's getting close. Only 6 points between the teams, and Hancock wins heat number 16. So 2 to go, and just 6 in it. Suddenly, we have a real nail-biter. Heat number 17, the penultimate race, 51-45, just to absolutely get it straight. The Americans need at least 4 points from this heat to force a last heat decider. Remember, they were 16 behind, and remember, they are a depleted side with their 3 most senior internationals. It really has been a notable performance from the young Americans, but England just may have the edge and the class, because they've got Screen and Dugard to come in their last heat, if it's a last heat decider. So everything's still to go for. Heat 17, there's the lineup. Tatum and Louis for England. The impressive Billy Hamill and Ermolenko, who has really burst into the picture in this second half of the meeting. Heat 17. Up to that first corner, and it is Louis who leads it, and the Americans going the high road around the outside. And it's the Americans who have done the trick again. Ermolenko leads it second place. It is Hamill third place. It is Louis. And Louis and Ermolenko almost locked together there as the young Englishman burst in between the two Americans. Hamill was looking for his partner. The inexperienced Charlie Ermolenko just was caught a little cold there, and Chris Louis came through between the pair of them. And it's critical now, because if it stays this way, the Americans have still got a chance of drawing the test match and saving the series. Oof. There's Chris Louis, and we may well look back at his efforts in heat number 17 and decide it was the turning point of the whole series. Hamill's going to win it, most impressively, providing the engine doesn't miss a beat. Here he is, taking the checkered flag on one wheel. Second place Louis, third place was Ermolenko. But it means that we go into the last heat, and there's the score, with just 4 points between the sides, and this has been some rearguard action from the Americans. Coming into a last heat decider, and the rider who's done most to spark the revival for the Americans is Charlie Ermolenko, and here we have him talking to Mike Bennett in the pits.
Charles Ermolenko, America need a 5-1 for a draw. A lot of pressure on the boys now.
Yeah, last race it was like 3 on the trot for me, so I was a little tired, and I hit that corner and kind of, so now it's up to these guys to go out there and get the 5-1, and hopefully we'll get it and we'll draw, and we'll be into that.
You've had a marvellous meeting, really, when you consider that you've been out without Sam Ermolenko, without Kelly Moran.
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, all the guys here today are just kind of, the majority of the group here is all young blood, you know, Billy, Greg, and myself. This being my first year, those guys got a little bit more at it out here, so I'm just trying to keep up the anchor part of it, and without Kelly and Sam, it's kind of hard to keep it going.
You come in tonight as a reserve. You've ended up with 7 rides.
Yeah, the last ride I was a little tired, and it was a little hard to hold on to the bike. I just wanted to get through it, but yeah, I mean, being a reserve at my home track is a good advantage. If Kelly and Sam would have been here, we probably would have been a whole different story.
So here we go for the last heat, and let's just spell it out for you. The Americans need a maximum heat 5-1 win to draw the match and save the series. Of course, it's possible to get 5-0 if both the English riders come to grief, but that's maybe speculative thinking, because we have Joe Screen and Martin Dugard, by far the most successful and profitable team player. You can see how the Americans are trying to G up their boys, and they've got Ronnie Corrie and Bobby Ott here, and you can reckon that these two will give blood here in heat number 18. A maximum heat win is required, and we have got England's best young bearing in against them, so it's a fascinating prospect. Joe Screen in the red helmet, Martin Dugard in blue, Ronnie Corrie will ride in white, and Bobby Ott in yellow and black. And Ott, well, he's Quicksilver. He bobs and ducks and dives, and he's perfectly capable of winning it. He's perfectly capable of finishing on his ear. Heat number 18, 4 points in it. The English lads just have got to split up the Americans and make sure they finish to win this series. It's a terrific climax here from what has been a fine advertisement for International Speedway at Monmore Green, Wolverhampton. There is the lineup. You can see there Joe Screen, big, tough northern lad, fearless, puts himself about at the first turn. Outside him it's Ronnie Corrie, little tiny, one of the smallest guys, one of the fastest walkers in the business too. He'll be on the outside. Bobby Ott in yellow and black has jumped out of the start a couple of times and caused all kinds of mayhem. Martin Dugard prefers to attack from the outside as the tension begins to boil up here at Monmore Green. They take their time to settle. There is Ott again, digging up some dirt. Well, he's going to be on the inside. Then we have Joe Screen on the outside. It will be Dugard. He loves it from that grid 4. And then we have Ronnie Corrie in grid 3. So heat 18, everything to go for here. The Americans have got to take maximum points. The Brits have got to split them. Heat number 18, the start will be critical. And the nerves are really tingling out there. They're taking such a long time to settle. Referee is David Hughes, he's the man who will press the button. There's all kinds of kidology and psychology going on here. Heat 18 with everything to go for. And into that first bend, it is the Americans who show. It is Corrie in front, it is Ott in second place, and England come roaring down the inside. It is Joe Screen and Martin Dugard go piling under Bobby Ott, and that was absolutely ruthless. The Americans it was in front. Corrie was leading it out of the first turn. Ott is coming roaring back through, battling with every ounce of determination he can muster, but it's the young English pairing that are holding out Bobby Ott, and Ott giving absolutely everything. Dugard it is who has the trouble, but now Ott has gone down there. The bike goes hurtling into the wire, and let's look at it again. You can see we said Bobby Ott would give you absolutely 150%. Dugard showed him a back wheel there. There's nowhere to go but into trouble. Well, there is Bobby Ott, but what a gallant failure. We said he'd give everything, and he did. And he clearly is not happy with life. So we come into a restart, and of course, providing England, well, even if they do something very silly, they're 4 points in front, and so they have won this match. It's a bit of an anticlimax, but still you can reckon that Ronnie Corrie will go for it. And there is Bobby Ott, who, well, gallantly failed his country. And England now will just look to consolidate heat number 18, just 3 starters only, Ott being excluded as being the cause of the stoppage. And Corrie once again sweeps into the lead, with the English pairing going after him here in the last race of this second test. Ronnie Corrie, of course, has good knowledge of this Monmore Green circuit. He rides here every week for the Wolverhampton Wolves, who are riding high in the British League, top league at the moment. They never won the first division, and with their strong American influence, Ronnie Corrie here, you can see Sam Ermolenko sadly not with us this evening for this test. That would have made a difference if Southern Sam had been here, and young Charlie Dukey Ermolenko, who have made such an impact, particularly in the later stages. So the Americans very much at home at Monmore Green, and it looks like Ronnie Corrie will give them some scant consolation here by taking the winning flag just around the last 2 corners. He will win it, but England do enough, holding on in there to share the heat, and that means the final score is 56-52, an evening of tremendous racing, of fluctuating fortunes. England going away early, seemingly having the match absolutely in their pocket. The Americans coming back strongly. A last heat decider, a dramatic fall. Some great team racing between Joe Screen and Martin Dugard. It's been a test match which really will go into the memory. There you can see the main damage coming from that Screen-Dugard pairing, scoring 25 points between them. That really was the linchpin around which this success for England was built, with Mark Laround chipping in 6 points as well at reserve, doing awfully well. Poor Thorpe just the 1 point, but we think he's going to be okay. And as the rain begins to sweep across the Midlands, you can see the victorious English pairing in. Even the weather's been kind to us, because it's held off right until the last moments of this evening. Calvin Tatum going forward there to collect the victor's plaudits. There is the United States scoring. You can see again just 2 riders really contributing the most points. That's Greg Hancock and Billy Hamill with 30 points between them. Ronnie Corrie with 8. But Ott and Charlie Ermolenko played their part as well. A brave team effort. We can but conjecture what would have happened had they been at full strength. 56-52. That's the final score from Monmore Green, Wolverhampton.